Heartier congratulations to the families that stand behind each one of you this morning. You know, there is a great difficulty with making speeches like this. I could read the prepared text, or I could tell you how I feel. And if you don't mind, I want to tell you how I feel, not as a minister, but as speaking as someone who has walked in the shoes of every one of you today who is receiving a degree. A lot has changed in the field of medicine in the last few decades, even in the decades since I graduated and the decades since I trained in ophthalmology. But I wanted to make just 3 points today for your consideration. The first, on professional leadership. The second, on healthcare costs. And the third, on the need for professional humility. Let me deal with the first one. You know, we pride ourselves on belonging to a noble profession. And indeed, I can tell you as someone who's had to make that transition from medicine to politics, I can assure you medicine is a far more noble profession. I say so on the basis of personal experience. When I walk the streets, I still have people come up to me, warmly shake my hand and say, "You operated on my child. You operated on my mother." And they are well, and they wish you all the very best. I'll tell you honestly, as a politician, you don't get that kind of gratitude. So you all made the right choice. But having said that medicine is a noble profession, we need to also understand the difference between a profession and a technical trade. By definition, a profession is not just an assembly of learned men and women. It's not just about self-regulation, although this is something the medical profession all over the world takes pride in. But we need to remember that if we are to retain that right of self-regulation and to retain the trust and gratitude of our patients, then it is essential that we continue to exercise professional leadership. And what do I mean by that? For instance, research is almost an industrial activity nowadays, meaning if you look at the volume of papers which are being published. But we need, collectively as a profession, to be able to critically analyze that research, to apply the lessons learned to real-life needs which our patients seated in front of us are confronting. We need to ensure the highest quality control. You know, when I was training in ophthalmology, my mentor, Professor Arthur Lim, insisted on recording every single operation that we did. The 99% of the time when the operation was successful, we could throw away the tape. But that odd occasion when the operation was not successful, that was the time that tape needed to be reviewed by the surgeon, by his peers, and by his mentors. Initially, it was an uncomfortable experience, this thought that Big Brother is always watching over you. But this obsession with quality control and this commitment to always keep improving, even if and when mistakes were made, are essential if we are to continue to retain the trust of our patients. Another aspect, which I'm sure all of you can relate to, and that is the commitment to training our juniors. All of us stand on the shoulders of giants. We are not where we are now because we are the smartest people in class, but because someone else has taken the time to teach us, to mentor us, to guide us. And equally, if we are to be a profession and to exercise professional leadership, then we need to make sure we do the same for those who come after us, and have the confidence to make sure they do better than we do. You know, the worst thing that can happen to you is to work for an insecure boss. I've been blessed because I've always had secure bosses, secure leaders, secure mentors, who never held anything back, who gave me the best that they could and tried to ensure that I could do even better. The final point about professional leadership is about putting patients' interests first. You know, the problem with medicine is that we have an extremely long gestation period. In this batch here this morning, you're all postgraduates. We're all overgrown and probably wearing out the welcome of our parents in their homes. But sometimes there's a temptation that because it has taken us so long, we are in a hurry. But I would suggest to you, do not ever forget that old aphorism, that first do no harm, and that our patients come first, and everything else is secondary. So those are some thoughts I wanted to leave with you on medicine as a profession and on the necessity for all of us to exercise leadership by being grounded in values and the ethics behind the profession. Because if we lose sight of that, we will forfeit the right to be a profession and others will regulate us. Let me quickly come to the second point on healthcare costs. The greatest crisis facing the healthcare system all over the world, not just in Singapore, is the cost of healthcare. You know, in almost every other field, whether it's engineering, computers, take any field that you like, the advent of better and newer technology has meant that things become better, cheaper, more accessible. For some strange, unique reason, this has not happened in healthcare. And all over the world, healthcare costs are escalating at unsustainable rates. Now, as a politician who's had a journey in healthcare, I know that the politically sexy topics are the loud arguments about subsidies, about the role of insurance, third-party payer systems and all that. Those are important political debates, but I submit to you that in fact, that's not the crux of the matter. Because arguments about subsidies, arguments about insurance and third-party payers merely transfer the bill around. It does not address at the core of it the full, total, real cost of healthcare. And one lesson which I learned as a medical administrator is that the key cost drivers in any system actually are the doctors. Why? Because there's always going to be asymmetry of information. We always, or we should know more than our patients. And because of that asymmetry, there will never really be a free market in healthcare. Our patients depend on us. They take our advice on the basis of faith or trust. Therefore, what procedures they undergo, what drugs they use, what tests to go for, these are decisions not made by politicians. These are decisions made by us as medical professionals. So the real cost drivers, the real decision makers for the full cost of healthcare are actually going to be made by the people in this room. And therefore, what I'm appealing to you is that even as we delve deeper and deeper into our specialties, deeper and deeper into our profession, do not lose sight of the fact that we are also responsible for our patients' wallets. And if we are to be responsible about that, then it behoves us as medical professionals to gain at least a functional appreciation of finance and healthcare costs, because our decisions matter. And if we don't pay attention to this, ultimately our patients, ultimately our societies pay the full cost of it, regardless of the politics. So that's my second appeal to you. Pay attention to healthcare costs. The third and final point I want to make is something I've come to appreciate more in my current phase in life. And that is that actually more lives have been saved by engineers, public health inspectors, the people who ensure safe food, proper sewage, drainage, a clean and safe environment. As doctors, we are used to being top in the class, We are used to being the lead surgeon. We are used to being the person whom everyone listens to at the bedside. But remember, we are only curing. The real big difference is in prevention and preventing people from falling sick. And therefore, my third appeal to you is to adopt an attitude of professional humility and understand that we are only part of a much larger team, a much larger system that truly gives people security and preventive health care. And the other big area that is unfolding in front of us is the management of chronic diseases. And the management of chronic diseases is not a matter of cure. It is a matter of marshalling all the resources of the system so that people are treated in the most optimal way possible to deal with all our chronic problems. And if we are humble enough to understand that, we will also realize that the solution to the management of chronic problems is not going to be more sophisticated doctors, but really a more effective healthcare system in the largest sense of the word. So let me thank you for this opportunity to be with you, to share with you, to reflect on my own journey and hopefully give you some lessons. To reiterate, remember that you're a professional. Remember to exercise leadership. Remember that our patients depend on us. And the difference between a profession and a trade is the sense of ethics. And also, finally, let us remember to be humble enough to acknowledge that we are merely one member of a much larger team. So I thank you all for your attention. I wish you all the very best from the bottom of my heart, a fulfilling career. May you continue to make a huge difference in the lives of everyone that you touch. Thank you very much.